Is Google about to destroy the web? The short answer is yes. A lot of this has to do with AI, but it's not what everyone is expecting. And because of that, it's not really getting coverage. So I want to walk you through what this article talks about and some of the stuff I've been seeing online as it relates to the business model that essentially drives a lot of our economy right now. So this is in the BBC, and this talks about a recent announcement that was made at Google's developer conference. So over the last year, Google has adapted to the proliferation of AI by launching AI overview, right? So if you type anything into Google, instead of getting the search results like you normally do, you're now getting like snippets of results, and it's kind of short, making the whole search process shorter. So let's say like I don't know, best places to eat in Austin. Let's see what comes up. Okay, that was a terrible one. How do I bake a cake? Okay, so see how it says Search Labs overview? So in the past, how Google worked is you would type in your query into Google search, and then it would come up with all these different results. So you get like this all recipes. They like added these here, obviously. Reddit started ranking more in the top for kind of a different reason. But you'd see all these different article links, right? And so the whole point of the internet up until now was to get your article to the top of the listing. And depending on like what you're writing about and what your business is, determined like what your purpose was in getting the article to rank. So for a lot of these food blogs, they're monetized through ad revenue. So the more clicks they get, the more ad revenue they generate. Some content creators do affiliate marketing or things like that. So you might want someone to click through and read your product review or your roundup or whatever, because you would earn commissions every time someone clicked on a link. So what's happened over literally the last year is that this AI overview up at the top has basically made it so no one needs to click through. So like it has the links here, right? So you know where they're getting this information from, but it synthesizes it for you. And so like in the past, you'd have to click through and read this, but because you see it here, you kind of trust it's fine. And I'm not going to say like the AI overview is perfect, but like a lot of people are just stopping here, and you get all the information you need. So you don't need to click through. So this has pretty much upended Google's business model, because it no longer requires you to click through links, right? And so the entire web up until now, the internet, has been built on a system of trying to rank content in the search algorithm. And then obviously Google has monetized that through its ad revenue program. And so the bulk of Google's income, I don't actually have like numbers for this, but a good bulk of it comes from ad revenue. I mean, same with Facebook, right? A lot of Facebook's revenue, or Meta, their revenue comes from advertising. So basically all these tech companies are really just glorified advertising companies that collect user data, and over the years as technology has gotten better, they've been able to refine that data, and because they've been able to refine that data, the value of it has increased, so you can sell it to advertisers and collect a pretty penny off of it, because you can almost guarantee sales these days. Like you can just like target ads in such a way that it pretty much guarantees a sale. And so this is kind of how the internet was built, and the rest of us peasants have more or less like built our lives on top of this. And some people are aware of this, some people aren't. And so for me, like I've been doing freelance writing for the past few years. So I've been doing articles like this. Like say I want to take a trip, like best credit card for travel rewards, right? So I've been writing like content like this. And again, this is a great example. Here's the AI overview. Sorry, I had to pause. My dogs were being mischievous in the background. Okay, so here's what I mean. So I search for best credit cards for travel rewards. This AI overview pops up, and it basically aggregates a bunch of like information that like content, like literally content I have created and written for. I don't think the ones I've written have come up here, but very similar content like this, right? So this is how things have changed. So if I wanted this, like instead now it has all these links here, and you don't really like need to click through anymore. And so that is fundamentally changing how the internet is working. And so like as a writer, I used to make money by writing these kinds of articles. Like I got paid to do this. And now because people aren't clicking through to these articles to read them anymore, they're just taking what the AI snippet gives them. Like there's no need for writers, right? Likewise, a lot of people have now also, if they're not using Google, they're just using like ChatGPT directly. And one AI tool, I don't personally use it, Perplexity, they recently announced a partnership, I think with PayPal. I could be wrong there. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they're going to start offering in-platform commerce and transactions. So right now, like you're seeing in the snippet, like the search results, and then you have to obviously like decide, okay, which one do I want? And then click through to like Capital One and sign up for it, right? But with how things are going, products are now being advertised within the AI chatbot, and then because there's going to be a commerce feature within the chatbot, like you can complete all the transactions and signups and whatever without ever having to leave Perplexity or ChatGPT or whatever. So this like fundamentally changes the entire internet. I write, but there's people who are SEO specialists, search engine optimization specialists, whose job is to figure out how to get like the content to rank up at the top. You see, these are sponsored. There are people who do pay per click advertising, so they are literally paid. There is a team of people at Capital One who their entire job is to advertise on search engines, and then within those divisions, there's teams of people that specialize on Bing or DuckDuckGo or Google, and so all of this is about to change because as the internet changes, the need for these people to do these things, it's fundamentally about to change. And so what this article talks about is that at the developer conference that happened at the end of May, towards the end of May, the Google's chief executive officer announced a new update. So right now there's the AI overviews, but they're about to launch AI mode, which is probably going to get rid of search altogether. I haven't seen it yet, and honestly, I personally think Google's trying to catch up to OpenAI. Like they're kind of launching and adapting as they go. But regardless, people who are experts in this are arguing that this is going to result in less internet traffic, and that it could crush the business model that has basically fueled the entire internet for the past like 30 years. And I wrote, I'll share it in the comments. I like recorded a personal video about like how I've directly been affected by this. Like I have lost 80% of my income because I do a lot of SEO freelance writing for content creators, specifically in the personal finance niche. I've lost about 80% of my income because work has dried up. And it's related to this. It's related to other changes that Google has made over the last year, but it all is in response to the greater adoption of artificial intelligence. So to like kind of paint for you this picture of how this is developing, I write a weekly newsletter called The Big Five. It basically covers important economic news stories that are happening in the micro, but trying to connect them back to the bigger picture. So, AI adoption, AI is going to take our jobs. Well, like everyone thinks it's happening in the future, but it's actually happening right now in the present. It's just like there isn't a lot of context to connect the dots to figure out what's happening. So I wrote back in May about Google search, and so about 90% of worldwide searches go through Google. So Google has like a de facto monopoly on search, even though there's a ton of DuckDuckGo, Bing, Braze, whatever it's called. There's all sorts of like alternatives that have come up. Like everyone uses Google. Google's the default, right? And so almost all of the world's search traffic goes through Google. And so for the last 3 decades, like this has been Google's bread and butter. This is the crown jewel of Google, right? To use an analogy, like if India was the crown jewel of the British Empire, like Google search is the crown jewel of Google. So essentially what's happened is that because of AI and ChatGPT and people no longer using Google to do search, they're kind of just getting all their search results in ChatGPT. Search is down. So when Google did their last earnings call, like their stock dropped because they recorded their first ever year over year drop in search. Now, again, decades. They've been at this for decades, and this is the first time they've recorded a decline in their bread and butter business. So clearly, business as usual is over. Things are changing. And confirmation of this has recently come out of the fact that they're now offering buyouts, especially to their search division. So Google is offering buyouts to a large portion of the company. And these are voluntary, but these are targeting people who are in their knowledge and information division, which handles a lot of search. So a lot of these changes are happening in real time, but because of the changes that are happening, you might not notice it, and you might not like piece together all of the changes as they're happening. So for me, like last year, a major algorithm change to Google, because of, in large part because of AI and AI generated content, cut the number of people freelancers who were writing content like this for these kinds of publications, right? And since then, as Google's been trying to compete and retain its market share, as ChatGPT and other AI tools are ebbing away and taking away from it, like they've been implementing other new changes. So obviously, like the overview that I talked about here, and then now they're going to start doing AI mode, which I haven't seen yet. If you have, like, tell me what it looks like. I'm sure it'll roll out soon. But like all these incremental changes have been happening, but they've been happening at a really quick pace. So to give you like context here, so November 30th, 2022, that's when OpenAI released ChatGPT for the public. So basically in 30 months, it's been like not even 3 years at this point, like the entire business model that ran the internet is now coming into question. That is profound. Like in the past, change happened, but it made business models obsolete, but it didn't happen this quickly. So like, let me give you an example, right? So the Erie Canal was a feat of engineering that radically transformed the United States in the 19th century. I'm from upstate New York, so very familiar with the Erie Canal. It made it possible for farmers to expand westward, to live in places in like Ohio, transport produce across the Erie Canal, and then down the Hudson to markets in New York City. So before, like it was, you had to travel to New York on horseback and carriage, and it took too long. Produce spoiled, was very difficult. With the Erie Canal, it expanded commerce, right? And throughout history, this has happened. Whenever you change your transportation network, it expands commerce, and that leads to growth in those areas. And so the Erie Canal, I think it was finished in like 1848, but it was in like the mid 1800s. Okay, well, not shortly, thereafter, railroads started taking off. And so the lifespan of the Erie Canal was pretty short. So if you were an investor, a real estate investor, for example, and you saw the Erie Canal as an opportunity, right? Like your window of opportunity declined in a very short period of time, because not too long after the Erie Canal made its debut, it was replaced by railroads. Now, this took maybe a couple decades for that transition away from the Erie Canal to railroads to actually happen, but it did eventually happen. The type of technological change we're seeing right now, instead of taking decades or years, it's taking months, right? And so things are happening so quickly that people don't really have enough time to pivot. And so honestly, one of the reasons why I'm making these YouTube videos, and I'm starting to do this now, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm trying to do it, is because I recognize like the industry I was getting paid, the business model that paid my bills, the industry I was working in is no longer viable. Like I have one freelance client left, and I'm kind of holding my breath. Like every email I get, I'm just waiting for the work to stop, because I know it's not sustainable for much longer. And so, I'm pivoting. So I've been publishing my own content on Substack, stuff that like AI can't replicate. And then obviously pivoting to video, because as of right now, this type of content, like AI can't really create. Like I think some stuff, a lot of stuff like VO3 and different video tools can do. But like this type of like screen share analysis, I don't think AI can do. I don't know. We'll see. But like I'm pivoting in this direction because this is where also where the advertising dollars are, right? So like I'm pivoting, and there's someone you can go through and read the story. I would highly recommend it. But they interview a company in here. I don't know where it is. House Fresh. And they talk about this, how this individual, had built their business based on generating traffic through Google search and SEO and writing content, and now they're pivoting to YouTube. So like people have to pivot. The problem is the short time span in which this is happening is making it incredibly difficult for people to pivot. Like I said, like a business model that ran the entire internet for the last 30 years has been obliterated in 30 months. Like that's insane. And so, this is going to have like huge effects across the economy. This, like, I'm talking to you about this from I'm a freelance writer, content creator, like someone who's in digital media. But this is going to have consequences throughout the economy. So like, I'll use myself as an example. So, 2 years ago, I was working in a co-working space. A year ago, I was working a lot from coffee shops. Today, I'm working from home. Like over time, my quality of life, and I'm not saying it's gotten bad or worse, but like I've had to make changes, right? Like what I did 2 years ago is no longer sustainable based on the income I'm generating now. So I've had to make changes. So now I only go to a coffee shop like once or twice a week instead of, every day, and multiple coffee shops a day, and going to co-working spaces and all that kind of stuff. So that plays a role in the local economy here in Austin. Like if I'm not spending money at a coffee shop, like that local business isn't generating revenue, and the people working there aren't generating tips, right? Because I've also pulled back on that as well. So if people with service work, so if I can't generate the revenue I need to support my life, and then go participate in the economy around me, I'm not going to do so. The people who are working within the economy around me are also going to suffer, and that's going to have a cascading effect of contraction where more and more people are going to be out of work and lose jobs. So when we talk about AI related job displacement, I think everyone thinks, oh, okay, ChatGPT is going to write for me. I'm going to put this prompt in ChatGPT. ChatGPT is just going to pop out an article, and then I'm going to, I'm done. And that's what ChatGPT is doing. That's what AI is doing. That's how it's displacing us. That's not happening. What's happening right now is it's making business models that generate the revenue needed to support workers. It's making those business models irrelevant. And in doing so, it's pulling back work from people, so it's leading to layoffs. So I've, talked about work has stopped for me, but at other companies like Business Insider just cut like 21% of their workforce. The New York Times just entered into a licensing deal with Amazon. Like the entire nature of digital media is changing, right? So people are losing jobs, and the problem with this is there's nowhere else to go in the economy. Like unless you do kind of what I'm doing and writing for myself on Substack, there's nowhere else to go. And that's because what I said earlier, a lot of this ties into marketing, right? And so if search is changing, if other aspects of the internet, social media, whatever are changing, advertising is changing, like marketing is changing too. So like the skill set you think you have that is valuable isn't necessarily transferable to other parts of the economy anymore. And so this is massively disruptive. So it's not just that, like, for some people, yes, AI is definitely taking your job, but that's not happening for everyone. It's making the business models that pay you irrelevant, and then that's having cascading effects across the economy. As people become displaced, people have less income to spend, less discretionary income, etc. So I think this is really important to pay attention to. I think Google is the canary in the coal mine for a lot of stuff that's going to happen, and because Google is the incumbent, they are responding to threats, whether that's from Anthropic, OpenAI, Chinese companies, whatever. They're responding, and they're just kicking out as much new stuff and new products as quickly as they can, and they have the capital to do so. So I would pay attention to what Google is doing, because whatever Google does, it's going to reshape the internet, and as a result, it's going to reshape the economy, and it's going to be a catalyst for greater AI adoption. So pay attention to what Google's doing. A lot of stuff, I don't think this stuff is really getting that much coverage. So I would pay attention to this. If you found this helpful, please subscribe, like, follow, do all the things. That will help me, like I said, as I'm pivoting away from freelance writing and into doing more independent content creation. That would help me out tremendously. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Toodles.